All right, this is Tony the Mayor back again, talking to you on my podcast of Experience, Strength, and Hope. Today, I'm going to finish my conversation with Paul Boykin. This is the final episode of this. And on this episode, we touch a lot on Black history, the strides that Black people have made, some of the things that Black people went through, and some of them that they're still going through, some achievements that we have made. This is an important time in history. This is a week past Martin Luther King Day, and we got about a week before Black History Month. These are 2 months that we can teach or educate other races, even our own race, even our own people, about African American history and empowering ourselves to do better in the coming years. Thank you. I wish people could understand what it is to be a Black man in America, especially 20 years ago, 30 years ago, walking in a store, walking to buying a car, anything that people would thought that you couldn't do. I sold cars for a long time. And if a Black man came on that lot to buy a car, mostly we would think that he was military and trying to find out how much he make. If he wasn't military, we was like, well, what does he do that he's going to be able to afford this new 300ZX? Yeah, that's how we thought. I didn't say we, I'm saying as a dealership. Mm-hmm. How they believe. If he's not military, he can't buy. That's how we used to think. If I could just put it in the heads of some people how, if it's not being racist or anything like that, I don't think we've been racist. I haven't. But it's just a hard way of understanding how somebody else has been treated, how we're treated, and how you expect to be treated. I expect the same privileges you do. Right. What are you doing with a Visa? How do you get a MasterCard or a carte blanche? And those are things. But it's not that. It's like living here. I mean, I love Kansas. I love Junction City. Because I feel safe. Because I grew up in an area that I didn't feel safe. I visited areas that I didn't feel safe, not just in Chicago. And so it's all about me feeling safe, me a better quality of life, of being affordable and things like that. People have a lot of reasons for hating this place, but housing being affordable, food more, things I pay for in a bigger city, I'm going to pay less here, And so, but I have to take the pros and the cons together. I tell people time after time, you can be in Junction City and it's all good and it's a diverse community, but you go 20, 30 miles any direction and it may not be like that.
Right. And I think I mentioned that too about when I lived in Junction City. I said there actually wasn't a part of the city where you can just say only Black people live or only white people live. There might be a part of the city where poor people live, or people who don't, have much money, or have an income where they may live, but they were Black and they were white.
Yeah.
But when I lived down there, over there where you living at now, it wasn't there.
No.
So when I lived there, over there where Cliff lived and where
Cross 77.
Yeah, where Turner lives.
Uh-huh.
That was a nice area. But the thing is, there were Black people over there, white people over there,
right,
Puerto Ricans over there. And the reason being is that, a lot of them are retired military. So, only wasn't the fact that only white people retired from the military, right? There were Black people that had nice houses.
Right.
And like I said, Mexican or Puerto Rican, it wasn't just, only white folk live over there.
And it feels good to be able to have, all races. Chicago, we got it all. We got Blacks, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, Jewish. We have Italians. we have Germans, we have everything, but it's segregated.
Right.
It's so
Everybody
segregated.
has their own area.
Everyone has their own area. The only time you see everybody together is downtown, probably. Maybe other places too. I don't want to be, like that. But most of it has been segregated in separate areas and things like that. That, like, when I first, it was a culture shock for me coming in the military down in South Carolina and Georgia. It's things that I just didn't know. And I'm sure a lot of them didn't know about me, but coming from the city to the South like that, I had to learn. And being part of a military, the military system where you have all races over you. You got sergeants and drill sergeants of all different types, nationalities and cultures and background. Then it was a lot for me to learn. I'm still learning things. I work with people that are farmers, and I learned from them things that I never knew. I didn't know anything about farming or animals when I grew up in Chicago.
Yeah.
But you can
Go to the grocery store and get what you want. I think it was 2005. Me and Belinda had flew down to California. My brother was having a birthday party, and his wife wanted us all to attend. So going into, I think we were leaving out of the Los Angeles airport, LAX, and I seen a Asian police officer. I had never seen an Asian police officer.
That's something.
So it was like kind of, because I think I mentioned it to Belinda, and she was like, it wasn't no big deal to her, but basically it was a big deal to me, because usually all you see is Caucasian police officers and African American police officers.
Right.
So I was like, in myself, I just mentioned to her, but I, to myself, I was like, wow, man, in 2005, I'm 40 or 38, 40, something like that. And, wow, I was like, I ain't been nowhere.
That's how you think. Because it's been, man, I even now, I've been to, I guess it can be just a shock for someone else, even for me. But, it seemed like when we went over to Germany, and I can remember being with Lachey, going down to the different places in Germany. I don't know if they call it the village, the town, in town. But I remember going places with him, and the people were just so receptive of you, man. Going to on tours of different places, going to glass blowing factories, going shopping and going to the store. It was like, it's not like they're looking at me as a black man or somebody coming in. I'm just a man, just another person. It was different when we were over there. So I don't know what's wrong with some of us, here sometimes, that we feel like that it's that they got to put their guards up when we're around. I'm not angry. I'm black, yeah, but I'm not angry. I'm not mean, and I'm not trying to cry. When you see something that's wrong, you cry it's wrong. If somebody do something to me that's disrespectful in the store, I'm just the same as the man, the white guy or whoever else that was disrespected to bring it up. Somehow, because they'll bring it up, say, hey, I think you guys overcharged me. But when I see it, there's a guy up there, and he seems kind of angry, so, how, I mean.
There's always going to be a divide in the United States.
Okay.
Because of the history. So, there's always going to be, because right now they got this thing, basically they call it white privilege.
Uh-huh.
And, it's basically, we've always known it, but it's actually, basically a new conversation, a new word to white people.
Yeah, it is.
The things they do, we just couldn't do. The way they talk to the police, we dare not talk to the police that way. Just anything. So, but that white privilege is basically a new word for them. we've seen it. We never used it. We used to, they get away with everything. That's all we say. They could do what they want to do. We didn't even call it white privilege.
I watched the video, and I'm gonna see. I don't know if I sent it to you or not. About in Manhattan, Kansas, this week, where a guy, or the police had to shut down the street and bring in their task force, and I don't know if they brought in SWAT, whatever. But a guy was in his pickup truck. He had a rifle, and I think he had 2 weapons, and one of them he pointed a few times, picked it up, and they continued to negotiate with him. With his weapon at his truck, he was standing outside the truck, calling police all kind of names and everything. And I know they say he didn't do nothing wrong by bearing arms, but if you pointed at a police officer, even though you have a black man with a gun picking up his rifle, and they end up shooting him, Paul, with those rubber bullets to disarm him. Mainly, that's what that did. You know, even people was saying they could have did something different besides that, and not shoot him with the rubber bullets, which didn't harm him. He go to the hospital, get treated for his bruises, or broken ribs, or whatever it might do, you know, and go to jail.
Well,
and I say now, if that would have been me.
You know, look at, when was it last year when they shot that black man who was in his car down in North Carolina or South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And they said that, you know, he was trying to run them over or whatever. But, you know, actually he was trying to leave. But, you know, they...
Right, I know what you're talking about now.
On his car, like...
To do it. Now, one thing I think we have, I mean, we brought awareness to the crookedness in police. I mean, Chicago police, people can tell you, Chicago, New York, places like that, police have been crooked for years. They made movies about it. You know what I'm saying? Now, all of a sudden, they say, oh, the police bad? No. Let's back the blue. Which I back the blue. I have a grandson that's a police officer. But the police has just started within the last, 10, 15 years cleaning up their act.
Has it been that long?
Well, okay. I try to give them the benefit of the doubt, you know. But yeah, it hasn't been that long.
You know, like I had an uncle that was a police officer too. So, you know, and anybody, you know, when you're young, you'd be like, my uncle police, you know, my uncle.
You're shocked, yeah.
And they, you know, they all knew him. So I never actually heard anything, you know, bad about him or anything. So, well, you know, because that's the kind of person he was in general. He was just, you know, a nice guy, you know, period. So I think a lot of these, you know, officers, especially these Caucasian officers, because they never been around black people, and you don't know anything about black people, and now you basically, you know, in charge of, because, you know, when you stop them, then, you know, you become, you know, the arresting officer, so you're in charge of that situation. If you've never been in a situation with somebody black, you just assume what you've been told, what you've heard. And I don't know if I've told you this before, but back in, this was 83, I think I started working at a plant, and it was 3 blacks, and they always had us on different shifts. That was, one would be on the morning shift, one be on the afternoon, and one be on midnight. So we never actually worked together. They only had 3 blacks out there. I worked out there for 2 weeks, and nobody said anything to me except my foreman, who was, you know, showing me, you know, what was going on.
Right.
But none of the workers spoke to me for 2 weeks. And there was one white guy who was actually cleaning up in the building, and he would come in the lunchroom, and he would, you know, say, hey, how you doing? Say hi.
Mm-hmm.
And so once he starts speaking, then slowly other people start speaking.
Wow.
One man was a maintenance guy fixing on the machinery out there. So, you know, when he got comfortable enough, he told me, he said, my mother and father always warned me about black people to stay away from them, you know, not become friends with them, not become, he said, because they want to steal from you, they want what you got. And I told him, well, my mother and father never taught me that. They taught me how to treat everybody the same. Wow. So, he, looked kind of like, well, black people ain't like what I thought they was. And I told him right then, I don't want anything that you have. I'm out here working just like you are.
Right.
So that was, an eye-opener for me. And this was back, like I said, in 83. Wow. The reason I say that, because I got married in 84. So I kind of remember it was 83. So, yeah, they're taught this. They're told this. Whereas, now, one thing I will say,
that's true.
First, how to treat them, and we're like, to be scared of them, stay away from them. Just watch your back, be careful. Right. And after working with some for a few years, I understand.
Two things, and I'm gonna wrap it up here, Paul, because you don't have a son. I mean, you have a daughter that's still, and it's just like me. What do I tell my grandkids that's in the age group that's still in school age, high school? I mean, what do you tell them about what to expect? Not just about the past, but we have to teach them the past. I have one grandson, he's fascinated with reading and learning about Malcolm X because they didn't teach him in school. And so it's fascinating, for him to learn. But how do we teach our children? What do we teach them that's going to help them to be better, as they become adults?
Well, I do have a daughter, and she is very opinionated.
Okay.
And she is, I'll say she's, intelligent in some areas. So, we, you have this, Tim, a lot of times you don't have to teach them stuff, certain things, because once they get out there in the world, no matter what environment they come from, because Bethany was pretty, she's pretty sheltered. But, she had to go, once they get out there in school, it's like open territory. So, yeah, you give them the basics.
Right.
Because they're going to bring some things back to you that either the teacher said or kids said. So then, then that's when you can either, teach them to, how to react, but you don't want them to hate. Because what you tell them, some people are going to act like that. Then they learn some things in school because they only teach them a limited thing in school. They're only going to learn about Martin Luther King.
Right.
They're going to learn about Harriet Tubman, and they're going to learn about
Rosa Parks.
Rosa Parks, yeah. So they're going to teach them about that. So in learning that, and they learn about slavery. So then that's when you that's when you kind of fill in the blanks because they want to know. So Bethany, she's did a thing on the black girl who first integrated the school system. She so she read books on that, and and then we went to Washington this summer, and we went to the Black History Museum. Some people, there's some white people who go to the Black History Museum, and when I say that, they're not there with their kids who may be interracial. They're there, by themselves or with their family. And the thing is about going to the Black History Museum, you just don't get up one morning and say, oh, let's go to the Black History Museum. You have to do this a month in advance.
Oh, wow.
To get tickets.
Okay.
To get a spot. So I found it, kind of amazing to see them in there. Like I said, and they're not with, they're interracial kids, or some of them are, some of them got mixed kids, and, you just got some white people in there. And the thing is, like I say, it's not intentional. You just don't wake up and say, hey, I'm going. You got to get up early in the morning because you got to get these tickets a month in advance. And it's like the guy trying to get into the pool in the Bible, first one who gets in. So we went there, and Bethany was like, you and Mom act like y'all wasn't interested. Y'all act like y'all I said, Bethany, I said, I've seen all this stuff before.
Mm-hmm.
And just to see it over again, sometimes it just, seeing too much of it.
It's bad, yeah.
It's bad, can get you, you get upset about it.
Get emotional, yeah.
I don't watch those movies on TV. I never seen 12 Years a Slave or whatever that was. I didn't even watch the Butler.
No.
Sometimes that's just me. Sometimes I don't, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad grew up in the South. He wouldn't even talk about some of the stuff. The only thing he ever told me was, he said, if a white person was walking on the sidewalk and you were walking, you basically got off the sidewalk and let them go past. You really didn't look at them.
Didn't make eye contact.
Huh?
I said didn't make eye contact.
Didn't make eye contact, and you didn't mess with white girls. That's all he really ever said about that. But sometimes when I would ask him, he would just say, "Boy, I ain't heard you talk about that."
Yeah.
That's what he, would tell me.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'll basically, it's just something that's innate in Black people to want to know more. So, now, you want to tell them, especially, when they start driving, things like that. Because the thing is, without you saying anything, I don't know if you noticed, that I noticed, without you saying anything, a lot of time, they're scared of the police. And I don't get in trouble. I don't get stopped by the police at this age. But when Bethany was little, and, out in the driveway, playing, riding her bike or whatever, and she would see a police, she would run. She'd come to me, or, hide behind the car. Yeah. Or whatever. So when I seen her doing that one day, I asked her, why are you, I say, are you, she's like, I don't like the police, I'm scared, and she was little. And that comes from maybe things she does, because a lot of times what we don't realize, they hear the same news that we hear.
Yes.
A lot of times we think they're not paying attention, but they, hear the same news we hear. So, maybe something she heard on TV or seen on TV that, and I told her, I said, you have to, if you're not doing anything wrong, you don't have to be afraid of the police, because I just don't want her to be scared for no reason. Okay. Yes. If you haven't done anything wrong, you shouldn't have to be scared of the police. You always want to be, on the lookout, but so it's just, not, because they're going to bring things to you. And I know your situation might be a little different, because Anthony had always wanted to be a police. Yeah. And so I don't know how his brothers feel about it.
But I can tell you this, I know how. Now, Paul, I work with kids of all races and age. And that's one thing that I can say that a lot of them have in common. Why are they afraid of, they go to police? I said, okay. Like we see the police stopping somebody down the street, and I'm driving that way. They go to police down there. Like I'm going to change directions. I'm not, the police standing there. I don't know why that they have it in them that they're so afraid. Well, I know why, some of it. But that not to have a negative aspect about the police, because...
that's what I have you talk to. They're supposed to be here to help you. So you don't have to be afraid. Right. Scared or run for the police. So, and what was strange for me, so what I start doing when police were right by, I start waving at the guy.
Oh, okay.
So, give her more, give her more acceptance to, okay, he's okay. Yeah. But, you still have to obey the law if you're not doing anything. But like I said, she's pretty intelligent as far as, the Black history and things like that, because she don't watch the Malcolm X documentary on TV. Come telling me stuff I didn't know. I had to go look it up on the internet. But it's maybe because our ancestry, so they get inquisitive about this stuff, and they I know she did. She picked it up on herself, on her own. But when I was in school, I had a black teacher, and he made sure that we knew about this. At that time, you had that reel-to-reels, go to the audio-visual room. Where, you had to roll the TV back down to the room
you do.
with the camera.
Yeah, you did.
And he bring that film in, and we would see, the police putting the dogs on black people, the police putting the fire hose out on, black people. He would show us this stuff. And, at that, growing up in that era, 2 years later, Roots came out. So, we all seen that.
Yeah.
And so it's something that's, probably just, like I said, from ancestry that's in black people to want to, look at this stuff and find, because, Bethany was kind of upset. As a matter of fact, she brought it up last night. Your mom really wasn't interested when we went to that Black History Museum. And I said, Bethany, I seen all that stuff, and I really wasn't,
Sometimes you don't want to be reminded of it.
Go ahead.
I said sometimes you just don't want to be reminded of it.
Right. And like I said, I never had dogs put on me, but, things like that. But I have been in, certain situations, and, like I said, don't want to see it constantly. So, and actually, when we got to a certain point, she went into the souvenir room, and I went out and sat on the bench. Belinda went out to go get the car. I sat on the bench, and there was another older lady who was sitting next to me. Well, she was on the phone with, somebody, and, whoever she was in there with, they came, and they said, we're going to go downstairs, because it's like maybe five floors, maybe 4 or 5 floors. Gigantic building. So anyway, she said, y'all go ahead, I ain't going down there. So she was on the phone. She said, I ain't impressed with this place. she said, because, they got all this, chains or, stuff that, they had black folks with, and you see all this stuff the police did. She said, if I go look at any more of this stuff, she said, I'm going to leave out of here an angry black woman.
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly what happened. That's why some of the movies when that movie Fruitville Station came out, I remember when it first came out, my mother said, you don't want to watch this, because they know how I am, how I react. They know my experience when the police roughed up me and Catherine. I could be dead now, both of us, from what happened in Chicago, And so my mother know that. She said, no, you don't want to watch it. They know certain movies that I shouldn't watch.
Yes, like I didn't watch, I can't think of that movie. It was some movie that Bethany watched 1,000 times where they ended up killing a black guy, whatever. Because sometimes we'll watch a movie and she's my dad, you know, I don't want to.
I don't know the name of the movie. I just mentioned because Turner used the line out of there. I think it was, but
Green Book.
Green Book. Now that was good. I like that.
Yeah, that was good. I enjoyed it too. But it was good. It was good. But the family, they was upset about some things in the movie.
Yeah, I can understand. All right, Paul, we're gonna continue to talk. I want in the future. I'm probably gonna put this on in January for Martin Luther King Day. I celebrate the whole month of January and February for Black History because it starts with Martin Luther King Day for me. I'm not gonna say if Martin Luther King was alive today, but if he was around, what would he feel about America? Or I know he's added to the progress from what he started.
Well, my thought is a lot of times you'll hear people say, well, we got a long way to go. We haven't, made that many strides. And a lot of times I feel different about that because to me, I'll just say from the time I was growing up and and I'll say going to school, you had black people going to college. There's always been black people, but you didn't have it like it is now. I mean, the position that black people are in now, 20 years ago, these black people weren't in these positions. And I'm not talking about Obama, which was, it was a great feat, accomplishment to have Obama as a president. Even though his mother is white and his father is black, they still consider him to be a black man.
Right.
And the accomplishments that black people have, I mean, you probably don't pay attention, but if you look at the three major news stations, NBC, CBS, and ABC, you look at their morning shows, and each station has 2 blacks and 1 white on ABC, CBS, and NBC.
Okay.
Their morning show. I'll go back as 10 years, probably. You didn't have that.
No.
So to say, we got a lot to do, we will never be probably on top. But you have to, admit that, hey, we've come a long way. Sure, there's things that's going on, things we don't like. I mean, black people are mayors of cities. How many black attorney generals or whatever that we have?
Black police chief in New York now?
Yeah, female, exactly.
Woman, yes. Excellent.
So, I think, because you're never going to change the mindset of other people. What you have to do is change your mindset, our community mindset. Yes. And the thing is, I have a nephew who graduated college. I have a cousin, daughter, who's a doctor. I have another niece, graduated college and was, going to get her master's. I got a nephew right now getting a full ride college on academics. So that's just my family. Look at your nephew. He's going to Howard.
Right.
It wasn't so that you can just, every black person that you know or see got somebody in college. It wasn't like that.
No, it wasn't.
I got a nephew who works for Toyota. These black kids now are making strides like never before. The strides that black people are making.
Yeah.
In music, yeah, you had people in music. You had, your Nat King Coles. You had your Aretha Franklin. But now there's 10 Aretha Franklin. There's 10 Nat King Coles. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not just, you got, that person. You get Stevie Wonder. There's 20 or 30 of them. And,
and they own the record label.
Living this good life, can go out and do whatever. So, to say, there will always be a long way to go because everybody's not going to, because you still have your people that's, living in poverty and things like that. In today's society, you have not only do you have a network of things that you can, for schooling, but you just have and you need it. Nowadays, you actually need it. Before, say when our parents were growing up, and when our parents were, first married, having kids, there was good jobs out there. They can go to General Motors. They can go to GE. They can go work at the DuPont paint factory or, different different places like that. GE make light bulbs, make cars. Not only GM, but you had Ford, you had Chrysler, places like that. You know, even if you didn't go to college, there still was a way, you know, to make a good living, you know, and make it. You don't have that today, but you do have the opportunity to be a plumber, electrician. You know, they have all these kind of trades. A truck driver.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if college isn't your thing. The military, you know, there are opportunities, especially today, there are opportunities out there. But these kids, Bethany has been talking about going to college since she probably was 5 or 6 years old. I didn't have that when I was growing up. And, you know, it might be, you know, the mindset of my parents. My mother didn't say anything about me going to college until I got to the 12th grade.
Wow.
Where this should have been discussed 6 years ago.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I mean, you know, you just think, your niece graduated college.
Right.
So, I mean, you cannot talk to anybody who's got, you know, brothers or sisters, and they got kids who isn't in college.
And it doesn't seem like all the girls went to college. It's achievements that they're made that before, you know, people didn't make. We didn't even think about.
You didn't think about it. They've been like, oh, so-and-so going to college, so-and-so going to school. It wasn't like, you know, right now, if you went into your, y'all had a family reunion, these young kids now, how come got degrees, doing well?
Yes, excellent. Go ahead. When I remember when I was deciding on what I was going to do, I had a baby, wife, getting ready to have a wife. And I remember going out to this factory where her brother worked. Man, I got out there. I said, I'll take the military, you know, because I knew I was going to do that or go to the military. Excuse me, when I saw how those guys were working out there, could I handle it as a young 17, 18-year-old man? Mm-hmm. And I ended up coming in. You know, college was not, it wasn't factory, military, or college. College was not even thought of. Even though a lot of people my age had been to college, I had teachers and I had all that, but it was not as important as it is, or as easy. I'm going to say easy. It's been made easy for a lot of people to be able to do it. You can achieve it now. You can do it. When I say easy, I mean you can go there. You can do it online. You can do anything, you know. Yeah. You can learn.
Well, you ain't even got to sign on every day.
Right.
I mean, there's all kind of. So I mean, do I think Martin Luther King would be how would he feel? I think he would feel good. Like I said, everybody is, like I said, you still got, because if you didn't have people out there killing, breaking in, doing whatever they doing, you're always going to have that in society. Some people just aren't going to do right. Mm-hmm. You know, like the movie, can't get right. Some of them just can't get right.
Yeah.
Don't want to do right.
Yeah.
And so, because they always feel like there's an easier way. So we're always going to have that element. But, yeah. I mean, if you look at Congress, how many black people, how many, you know, congressmen do we have? How many senators? Not many, but there's strides. Black people have made, superintendents of schools.
Yeah, and we have one here. African-American male, this is, yeah.
You know, a lot of times people think, oh, we black people ain't did this, you know, because we're marching. Yeah, we're marching to get equality, basically to change your mind against us. But for as, you know, strive and, you know, look at the neighborhoods that black people are living in. I mean, just across board, we have made great strides, I think.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Experience, Strength, and Hope. Come back and continue to listen on any of our other platforms such as YouTube, Spotify, Anchor.fm, and Apple Podcasts. We encourage you to not only listen, but also reach out and share your stories of experience, strength, and hope at bigdog0862@gmail.com or 785-307-4662. I'm Anthony Timms, and this has been another podcast of Experience, Strength, and Hope from Tony DeMayer Timms. Be blessed, be strong, and most of all, be real.